done this, my wife told me nobody will give you a house. About 6 months later, she said, where do you find all these fools to give you these houses? I said, they don't. They give me their problem. The house comes with it. Whenever the house becomes a problem, they're not worried about equity. All they're wanting, they're like little rat in the trap. They want no cheese, all they want is out. So if you offer them a way to walk away smooth, they're happy as a lot of it. And I've told lots of people, I'll be glad to tell you, you have to do what I do. And you can save your own self. We don't want to. People are basically lazy. So, yeah, it's a good opportunity for investors. Risk is something that you always want to limit. And what's subject to, you're risking everything that you've got invested, which is nothing. I can live with that risk. I've got a pretty good risk tolerance for zero. But whenever you take over a house subject to, you tell people exactly what you're going to do, and you do exactly what you say you're going to do. Don't make promises you don't have to keep any promises. A lot of people will tell you, oh, I'll save your credit. If they've got a foreclosure filed on them, you ain't saving diddly. You can stop the foreclosure, but the foreclosure is still on their credit report. They can write a few letters and diminish the damage that you stop the foreclosure. But the foreclosure goes, the minute that they file foreclosure on someone, it goes on their credit report, period. So don't tell somebody that you'll save their credit. You can improve it, but you may be able to save it if you catch them before they go to pre-foreclosure. But houses that are distressed, and just because somebody is current don't mean they're not subject to candidate. People get transferred, they don't have enough equity in the house, they don't have a reason to stay there. They don't have enough equity to list it with a realtor and sell it because there's not enough equity to pay the commission and the closing costs and whatever else somebody wants whenever they buy a house conventionally. So I can take a house with zero equity and make a good lick on it. Just because somebody wants to give you a house, don't mean you want it. If you take a house that's got $100,000 owed on it, and they're already 11, 12 months behind on the payment, and the payment's $700 a month, you're about $7,000 to $10,000 behind by the time you count your penalties, rates, and legal fees, and all that. Well, it's going to be hard to get a lease option tenant in there to give you $10,000 down. So unless you've got money that you want to come out of pocket and keep and bury it in a house for a while, that's not the opportunity you're looking for. If I've got somebody with a $100,000 house and they owe $98,000 and they've got a payment of $700 a month PITI, I can make a good lick on that one. It's called the pretty house business, and that doesn't mean that it's gorgeous. It just means it's ready to move into. You don't have to do anything. But say they've got a house worth $100 and they owe $98 on it. If they try to sell it conventionally, they got a $6,000 commission up front, and then they're trying to list it for $100. They'll be lucky if they get $95 for it. Then they've got some closing costs, and they're going to have to fix a few things. Basically, they're going to have to come to the table for $10,000 to sell their house. Well, that's fine if you got $10,000. A lot of people are a little short. I can take that same house subject to that's got a $700 a month payment on it. I can get $1,000 to $1,100 a month rent. I can get 3 to 5% down on a lease option. So that $3,000 to $5,000 that I'm gonna get down on the lease option. Personally, I'm going to get 5. If they've got 3, I can deal with the 3, how are we gonna get my other 2,000? So if their rent is gonna be $1,000 a month, I said, why don't we make it $1,100 a month for 20 months? Then we drop it back down to $1,000 a month. I've got my 5,000. I'm all smiles and giggles because none of that's refundable. But I will do everything that I can to see that they become the owner of that house. But if they won't work with me, I've got no problem evicting them. I have before, but very few. Most of my lease options wind up the person buys it, which is the plan. I don't want to sell a house but once. I make it to live it up. Don't happen. But my example, if I get 5,000 down and I sold it to them for 105, it's worth 100. I get 105 for it on lease option because they're not paying interest. It's financing that they can afford.
Can you explain what
Leasing the price up much.
Can you explain what lease option is?
Sure. Lease option is a lease agreement with the option to buy the property at a set price. So if the housing market goes up during the lease period, they get credit for the gain because you've already set a strike price on what you're going to sell it for. Anybody have a question on lease option?
It's just a good exit strategy to keep in mind. It's also known as rent to own. A lot of times people call it.
Well,
Sometimes.
actually, rent to own, a lot of people call it that, but it's not.
Right.
A rent to own implies that if you rent it for a certain amount of time, you will eventually own it.
Right.
On lease option, not so much.
Right.
They'd have to rent it for 80, 90 years. Then they'd own it. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Right.
I'd be dead. But a lease option, yes, sir.
You said the lease option is.
Pardon me, sir, you speak up because I don't hear well.
You said the lease option is a lease with the option to buy, and then you mentioned the buyer would have the option if the market goes up, they could buy it at a certain price. Can you expand on that? Was that agreed upon price that's agreed upon at the initial deal, or can you just expand on that a little bit?
You establish the price of the house when they sign the lease. So if I'm selling the house for 105, that's the price. I do a lease option, and some of the gurus that tell you 12 months, I'll tell you 24. Because the people that you're selling to have credit issues, period. And it's going to take them a couple of years to straighten those credit issues up so that they can go to a lender and get a loan to buy my house. So I will work with them, I'll put them with a lender and have a lender tell them what they need to do to improve their credit so that they can buy the house in 2 years. But I want them to buy it. I've got a house that's worth 100, I'm gonna sell it for 105, they owe 98. Their payment on it is $700 a month. I'm gonna make it easy, I'm gonna call it $1,000 a month. I'm gonna rent it for 24 months before they cash me out. So I make $3,600 a year on the rent. So that's $7,000 that I can make over a 2-year period. At the end of the 2-year period, the mortgage will pay down roughly $2,000 a year. So I now owe 98. No, I owe 94 on it. They gave me 5,000 down, so they still owe me 100. So I made 7 on the rent, I made 5 on the option consideration, and I pick up another 6 on the back side. So I can make 13, I make 18.
12 and 6, yeah, 18.
Okay,
About
I
18.
make
Yeah.
1,800.
Don't make us do math, though, it's hard.
When you get old.
Do you ever
Yes, sir.
extend the option?
What about repairs on the home?
So, who's responsible for all the maintenance and
I
repairs?
didn't understand you, sir.
What about the repairs on the house? So
On
any
lease
maintenance or
option,
anything?
they are. Whenever they call me up and tell me their toilet don't work, I tell them it certainly don't, you need to call somebody to fix it. You're buying the house, remember?
So he becomes the bank, he's no longer the landlord.
Right.
Technically, there's a lease with an option, and they're technically tenant buyers. Not tenants, tenant buyers. So he's like Chase. You don't call Chase when your toilet don't work. You fix it, right?
What happens when it, like, the roof gets, like, damaged in a huge storm or something where it's like
Insurance claim.
Yeah.
15,000 and then they pay the deductible or
You have
something?
insurance for that.
Right, and then you make them pay the deductible? The tenant will pay the deductible?
Probably.
You're not insured.
That-
They carry it. Yeah.
If they want me to increase the insurance, I will, to lower the deductible, but yes, it's gonna be their expense. I'm not coming out of pocket with that. You know, like I say, I carry insurance to minimize the damage, but whenever you start talking about a hurricane, all insurance companies have swapped it over to a 3 to 5% wind damage deductible. So you're looking at a $3,000 to $5,000 deductible, and yes, that would be their expense. But,
You require the leasee to carry their own insurance.
pardon?
You require the leasee to carry insurance.
Absolutely not. The insurance is escrowed in the payment, and you cannot insure a property that you do not own. They are leasing, they don't own it. I carry the insurance, but it's part of my escrow, it's part of my $700 a month that I pay. Yes, ma'am.
Do you do two contracts when you're tenant buyer, the option and the
I,
lease?
some do, some don't, I don't. I've got a option agreement built into my lease agreement. I've not had that much difficulty with it, because to begin with, you call your option consideration. If you call it deposit, it implies they're going to get it back at some point in their life. It's consideration. Whenever I give them the option, I have fulfilled that contract. I have given them what they paid for. I don't owe them anything. It goes towards the purchase, and whenever I get option money down, I have that written in a separate check as option consideration. But the lenders will accept that as prepaid down payment whenever they go to get their loan. If you're giving them any credits on
Rent.
the rent, the lenders will not accept that. You can reduce the price by that much. Whenever you write up the purchase agreement, if you're selling it to them for $100 and you've collected $1,000 worth of rent credits, you just drop it down to the price of $99,000. That gives them credit for it, but the lender will not give them credit as prepaid down payment. There's no paper trail on it, and the lender will strictly deem it as rent. So get your option consideration in a separate check, and you've got a paper trail on it as to what it is, and the lender will accept that as prepaid down payment whenever they go get their loan.
So this is a lot into lease options, which is an exit strategy. We'll maybe answer one or two more questions, but we want to get back to the ability to buy on a subject to, because we know that that's enough for the whole conversation. But with it is lease options is a good exit strategy as far as getting rid of a property. We'll answer just a few more questions so that you can finish all your talk on buying with subject to.
Sure.
Yeah, and but that's what most people commonly will sell with a lease option.
Typically, but not always. Yes, ma'am?
Do you find the lease option better than the bond for deed?
Absolutely. I like buying or buying for deed. I do not like selling on the bond for deed. Bond for deed, they changed the laws on it. They can actually sue you for all your money, all of their money back above average rent. As they get their down payment, they can get their payment above what average rent would be in the state of Louisiana on bond for deed. Like I say, I like buying on bond for deed, I don't sell on bond for deed. The other reason I like selling on lease options is the depreciation on the property is my tax event. I get to claim it as long as I own the property. If I sell it on a bond for deed, nobody gets to claim it. They have an ownership interest, but it's just enough to muddy up the water, the IRS won't let either one of you claim it. So, just,
If they don't exercise their option within the term, what would you ask that they, put in some more consideration, or would you just keep them in there and raise the rent a little bit?
it depends. If they've been a good tenant, I'll extend it, I don't care, I'm making $300 a month, I don't have my credit risk, it's, somebody else's mortgage. But, if they've been good tenants and I don't have to chase them for the rent, sure, I'll extend it, I don't care. But if they've been a pain in the butt, they're leaving. They're no longer my pain in the butt, they go be somebody else's. But, like I say, it just depends on the situation. Whenever you're looking for a lease option deal to pick up, the criteria is conditions gotta be livable, the payment has gotta be doable. Recently I had one that was trying to give me a house that it was worth $250,000. The payment on it was $1,800 a month, and they were $20,000 behind on the payment. I told them, I appreciate the opportunity, but good luck. I will tell people, I will not make your problem my problem. I have a solution to your problem, but I ain't taking over your problem. It's still your problem. We're solving it. But, like I say, just because somebody wants to give you a house don't mean you want it. It depends on whether or not you can make money, which is what my objective is. This is not a humanitarian effort. I do this for the money.
You laugh, but it's fun. It's funny, but there's many deals we come across where it's like, I see people in real estate investing go broke chasing what they think is a deal, but it's not a deal. So then they're like, you know, they're coming out of pocket each month just to make this deal happen.
I don't know how many times I've had young investors tell me, I'm trying to find a house to buy. Well, call me Monday morning. How many do you want? I'm a broker. I'll open up the MLS and hook you up. You tell me how many bedrooms and bathrooms. You're looking for a deal. If it ain't a deal, you don't want it. Houses are easy to find. Deals a little more difficult. Subject to will work hand in hand with ugly houses too. You can find a house that needs work that has a mortgage on it and take it over subject to and borrow the money from a private investor or whatever to fix it and then pay it off when you've got really cheap money that way. But just because it's ugly don't mean that they didn't have a mortgage on it before it became ugly. Lenders don't loan on ugly houses, but they have a lot of them in their portfolio.
Right.
But I have picked them up with the first, second, and third mortgage on them. I picked one of them that had a fourth mortgage on it. Yeah. Love those. I'd love to find 50 of them. Yes.
Right. So in the example you just said, if they're 20,000 behind, they're obviously having financial difficulty. So if they're not having financial difficulty, why would they come to you for a subject to?
There's a lot of reasons. If somebody transferred and their job was in Pocatello, Idaho, Monday, they need to get rid of their house, and they just recently bought it a couple of years ago.
Okay.
They don't have enough equity built up to sell it.
Okay.
So you'll find a lot of times that people pick up inherited property, and they'll have a debt load on it. Well, people like to keep mom and pop or Aunt Polly's word good. They can't afford to payment on the house, they don't wanna be a landlord, but if somebody comes along and takes the property over subject to and keep the payment up, they're all smiles and giggles. And you'd be surprised how little bit people care about their credit.
So real quick, so on the ugly house part, it's important though that they have equity in the house because you have to do repairs.
On those, you have to have equity.
Yeah. You can,
On an ugly house deal, it falls in the same criteria it would on any other ugly house. It just becomes easier to get the money. It's a cheap source of money. You don't have to come out of pocket with the purchase price and the fix up. Like I say, that's one that's gonna require cash because you've gotta fix it. But it will, if you pick up a house that's worth $120 and it's got a $60,000 mortgage on it and it needs 20 in work, you take over the $60,000 mortgage, borrow the 20 from a private lender, which is gonna be expensive money, but you're only borrowing 20. And put the 20 into it, fix it, and then sell it for the 120, and I think there's a profit in there somewhere. But generally, whenever you're dealing with ugly houses, the exit strategy is to flip. It's not to hold. Because you've got too much money invested in it. So you don't want to be I don't like to keep my money tied up for a long period of time. She right there.
yeah, this chair right here. Hell, y'all might need to pull out some more chairs for like the third time tonight. Good job, y'all.
How you doing? It can work, and it has worked for me, free and clear houses. Somebody's got a house that they want to get rid of, and generally it's somebody that has got a few years on them, and they want all their cash. Go get a mortgage on it. Get your cash out, and then I'll take it over subject to. And I've had people say, nobody did that. You'd be surprised.
I know we've talked about this before. I was about to make an offer on that. What about the tax ramifications? I know you've done that before. Does the person, like, say if they own it outright, well, if they were to go sell it and they would then have basically a house that they own outright, they're worried about Uncle Sam when they go to sell. But if they pulled a mortgage out, would that mortgage money, maybe some of the lenders in the room, if not from your experience, can speak to if that seller would be able to get that money from that mortgage, if it would be taxed?
If, to begin with, if it is a house that they were living in for 2 or more years, it's a tax-free event one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's your personal residence.
Right.
And I don't know if y'all realize that or not. If you sell a house that's been your personal residence for 2 or more years, it's a tax-free event. Unless, let me change it a little bit. If you're a married couple, it's a tax-free event up to a profit of $250,000. If you're single, it's only $125,000.
I think it went up to
That's a pretty
250.
good list on that.
Yeah, I think it's,
If you make more than that, pay taxes.
yeah, I think it's 250. So 250 for individuals and 500 for a couple. I call it live-in flips, and I'm almost about to sell the one I'm in. And I'm not gonna have to pay like $50,000 to the IRS, and I'm happy about it, okay? So, but what I was thinking about is, like, I'm making an offer on a property right now that these two siblings inherited. Their dad lived in it. It's a quirky house. It's not selling. And so they're like, what? So I'm trying to make a creative offer. Well, they're like, well, this is our inheritance. We're trying to get the most that we can get out for it. But they're also worried about Uncle Sam, right? Because they're about to get, if they sold it, their dad owned it outright. So it's a big chunk of cash. Uncle Sam's, they didn't live in it, so it would be, subject to capital gains. But I'm making owner finance, like a bond for deed offer, but I'm also making like a subject to one where they get a mortgage on it. But I'm asking this because I'm about to make this offer in a few days, and I've been researching it. Would it be a tax event for them if they got that mortgage?
Okay, the mortgage would not be a tax event for them sell it to you subject to that mortgage, it could be.
Yeah,
You'd have to check
Okay,
with
see
the
that.
accountant on that one.
yeah.
I don't really know.
But it allows for
I'll give you
them-
the wrong answer. I'll tell you, I don't know.
So it allows for these two siblings who, hey, this is, you know, dad's inheritance, like this is our inheritance. It allows for them to get a lump sum, or
It's
elsewise,
an inherited property.
it's an inherited property.
They inherited it at the new cost basis anyway.
Yeah,
So
okay.
So what it's worth is what their cost basis is. There is no, if they sell
No
it
profit,
for,
yeah.
If they sell it for no profit, there is no tax. There
Gotcha.
is no taxes due.
So that's helpful. Yeah, but ultimately it's like, hey, well maybe you still want to get more because of an owner finance offer. Typically there's interest involved. There's just they get more for it. But hey, if you want to get more for this property, but you want your money now, not in monthly installments, then just like you were saying,
Right.
get your mortgage now and I'll just make the payments.
The absolute easiest way to get people to do something is ask them. You'd be amazed what people will do if you ask them. I've asked them for all their personal financial information. Sure, you want me to fax that to you? It will truly amaze you.
Right.
But like I say, as long as you're straightforward, don't lie to them. They'll get you in a lie in a heartbeat. Just like I've told lots of people, as an investor, the most valuable commodity you have is your word. You blow your word, you're done. And word will get around. Believe me. I've known a couple of them that don't live here anymore because they can't work here anymore. I don't know, maybe I mentioned that they screwed me over on a case. It could have happened. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if they do a subject to, so that mortgage is still going on, it's under their name, you're making the payments. Now, what do they do if they want to buy another house?
They can only qualify for one FHA loan. You can give them a copy of the lease, and the lease it's showing that they have the house leased out, and the lease will reduce their debt load by 75%. If the house had been leased out for $1,000 a month, they will lessen their debt load by $750. The lender will require the other 25% because they assume that you've still got maintenance and upkeep. But they can still qualify to buy another house. Like I say, they cannot qualify for another, if that one is FHA, they can't qualify for another FHA loan, but they can give conventional loans or whatever.
So do you have them transfer title to you?
Pardon?
Do you have them transfer title to you?
Do I have?
They transfer title to you?
Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't invoke some sort of due upon sale
It
clause?
does.
Okay.
Since the Tax Reform Act of 1986, all loans, all mortgages have a due on sale clause. You would call the bank tomorrow and ask for the due on sale department.
Okay. They don't care as long as they don't get paid.
As long as, I have never had an issue with one, as long as the payment is on time and they're happy as a lark. They've got enough foreclosed, they've got enough bad loans that they're not gonna take a good one and make it bad. And the issue with the due on sale clause is they can call the loan due and transfer ownership back into their name and kill the due on sale. So, like I said, if push comes to shove, I would do it a different way.
I didn't mention the packet, that the packet's on the website that has so our website, lanorthshorere.com, he's got a subject to packet. It's 4 pages. It's on the website. You can download it, save it to your computer, print it. I don't care what you do with it. But it's under, I think it's on an upcoming meetings page. But it's a packet he provided, And don't they have a section in the packet that goes over?
Got a CYA letter in it that tells the person that you're taking over their property that there is a due-on-sale clause in the mortgage, and that I do not intend to go and put a mortgage on it and cash them out if it's gone due. I will work with them on trying to avoid the due-on-sale, but I will not go and get a mortgage put on it. They signed that. There's also an escrow letter that asks the lender whenever you pay off the loan to use the escrows to lessen the loan. It works about a third of the time, but if you don't have it, it don't work at all. What it boils down to is whenever you pay off that loan, the escrow check is gonna go to the name that's on the mortgage, which happens not to be your name. Now, maybe the person will send you the check, but probably they're gonna cash it.
Yeah.
So, it could be, $1,000, $1,500 in the escrow fund. Well, I kinda like to have that on my side of the table if I can. There's also an authorization to release information and a POA, which is both the same thing, but whenever you're talking to a lender about somebody else's loan, some of them want a POA, some of them want an authorization. I get both signed at the beginning. Yes, ma'am.
Does the POA need to be notarized?
Pardon?
Does the POA need to be notarized?
The POA is strictly for that house.
No, do you need to notarize it?
No. It don't hurt to have it notarized, but it's not required. Yes, sir.
What type of entity do you recommend buying these subject to in?
Subject to, I buy an LLC. LLC is it claims depreciation. If I'm doing a flip, I'm buying it in a corporation because it's better tax advantage. But if you buy a rental or subject to or whatever in a corporation is a dealer by definition and can't claim the depreciation. I won't claim the depreciation because when I sell it, they're gonna make me claim whether I got it or not. So I want it during the period. I typically put things into I take it in an LLC and then I transfer it into a trust. But I take it in an LLC because the trust in sovereign state of Louisiana needs to be revocable. If it's revocable, it's very simple and IRS treats it like it don't exist. But the one that can revoke it is the one that put it into the trust. So if I have the owner directly put it into the trust, they could conceivably come back and revoke my trust. So I have them sell it to me in an LLC, which whenever I have it sold into an LLC, I sell it subject to the existing, the cash sale will say subject to the existing financing of $87,200. That way I have a cost basis, and it also, nobody knows what Legion Beyond Loyalty is. Okay.
I do, because you taught me.
If you purchase a house for less than 50% of its value, then it clouds the title for 12 months. If you buy it for $50,000 and you sell it for $100,001, then the original owner can come back and sue you for lesion and rescind the sale. Not a cool position. So if you buy it subject to, if you buy it for $80,000, subject to the existing mortgage, that means you're not coming out of pocket with anything. The purchase price is $80,000, you sell it for $100,000, you're less than 50% of the over the value. So no lesion is triggered. It's the game. You gotta learn the rules to play the game. If you learn the rules that the rich people play by, and play by those rules, you come out a lot better. I didn't
Do you have
hear
a legion clause in every, even if you're not purchasing it below value?
a leasing clause, I do not. I always use the cash sale, and the purchase price is typically gonna be more than 50% of the value of the property. You can get an attorney to draw up a waiver of lesion if you do happen to pick up one that's less than 50% of value, and just have them sign it when you buy it. Don't wait and try to get it signed when you get ready to sell it. There are a lot more in terms of, while they have a problem, they'll sign anything, but their memory fails when they don't have a problem. So, oh, you said, no, I didn't say that. Okay, the other thing I need to touch on is whenever you take over one subject to, typically it's gonna have a happy homeowner policy on it, insurance policy. You want to cancel that insurance and put your own policy on it, which would be a landlord policy. But I get a copy of their insurance, and I take it to my insurance agent and tell her, cancel theirs, put mine on at the same time. The lender don't care as long as they don't have a lapse in coverage. But it names the lender, she names the lender as the mortgagee insured. So as long as they don't have a lapse in coverage, they don't care. But if you leave that happy homeowner policy on it, and the house burns down, and they find out you've had it rented, they'll give you your premium back and say, you didn't have any insurance. That's a bad day. Believe me. Whenever you're taking over a subject to, be friendly, keep it light, don't make it a great big issue. If you make it a big issue, it becomes a big issue. If you don't, it's not. All they're looking for is to get rid of their problem. Tony Robbins said a long, long time ago that the two major motivators, pleasure and pain. The house has become pain to them, and people will do a lot more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure. So, as long as you're offering them a solution to their problem, they're all smiles and giggles. So there's no point in busting their bubble, because you're going to do what you say you do. That's the only way it works. If you tell somebody that you're going to keep their payments current, and I have. If it's behind on the payments, I'll tell them right quick, I will not put you in a worse position than you're already in. So if I can't get it done, they're going to the same foreclosure sale that they would have if I had not showed up. But if they're current on their payment and they're concerned about their credit, I will tell them. I guarantee that I'll keep the payment current. If it's not a good enough deal for me to make that guarantee, I need to walk away. It's not deals. Like I said in my example, if I got a $700 a month payment, if I've got it empty for a month or two, I'll just come out of pocket. I'll make it up before the end of the contract. It's not, generally speaking, you're gonna take a house that is you don't go to the war zone to buy houses. I don't care if they're ugly or pretty. Typically, my criteria is, if I pull up to a house, I ask myself, if I'm a young woman, would I want to raise my children here? And if the answer is no, back out the driveway, you've seen everything you need to see. I don't wear Kevlar while I buy a house. If there's tennis shoes hanging on the lines out front, not a good spot. If they're making transactions in the street, not a good spot. Because they're probably not selling Girl Scout cookies.
Do you buy a property that, behind the payments?
Pardon?
Behind the payments?
Oh, yeah. It depends on how far behind they are. In my example of a $100,000 house and the payment is $700 a month, if they're 3 or 4 months behind, I'm good with it. I'm going to tell them that I'm not going to make up the payments until I sell it on a lease option, which generally don't take me but a couple of weeks. But whenever I get my option consideration, my little 5K, I'll take the $2,800 in arrearages out of the $5,000, and I'll put the other $2,200 in my pocket, and everybody's all happy. So I'm caught up on the payment. Part of that went toward the equity, part of it went to late and penalties, but it still paid down my mortgage some. So I'm using somebody else's money, so it's sort of like people say when they go to the casino, oh, I'm playing on their money. Well, you actually are the subject too. At the casino, not so much. They're giving you some of yours back. The CYA letter is, like I said, it says in the CYA letter that there is a due on sale clause in the mortgage. I want them to sign that because that way, like I say, people's memory fail after their problem is solved. Nothing like having a good old-fashioned signature. Remember this when you signed it? Oh yeah, I remember that now. But
do you mind sharing how you go about having a conversation with someone? Say, you know, the other day when we went to that house, how do you pitch this to a seller? You look, someone calls you and say, hey, this is my situation. So-and-so has this house. So you go to them. How do you pitch this concept to a seller who most likely is not sitting in this room? You know, is not learning, doesn't know anything about this. How do you present this concept to them for them to want to take it?
whenever, in fact, several years ago, my son was partnered with me, and he went with me on the subject to presentation. And when we walked out, he said, well, Dad, you don't candy coat it. I told him, no. You be as honest as you possibly can. The gentleman asked me, why should he, I'd already explained to him what subject 2 was, how it worked, the whole 9 yards. And he asked me, he said, why should I do this? I said, well, he was behind on his payment, but only a month. But he was heading in the wrong direction. He was not going to get caught like that. I told him, if we do this, I can save your credit. The lender will not get back a house that they don't want. And someone that otherwise could not afford to buy your house will be able to buy it. And the most important piece of the equation is, I will make some money. He said, well, what if we don't do it? I said, your credit's gonna be screwed. The bank's gonna get back a house that they don't want. I said, someone that won't be able to buy your house on a lease option. I said, and the most important part is I won't make any money. I said, so if you don't want to do this deal, I'm okay with it. But tell me now. I don't want to waste any more time here. And we shook hands and did the deal. Just like he wanted to do to begin with. Whenever you're talking to somebody about lease option, about a subject to, there's not a whole lot of people that are offering them any options. Now, I have had attorneys that tell me, so I need to go talk to an attorney. I said, I may be a trip. I said, but go ahead. He said, what do you mean? I said, the attorney's going to tell you there's no way that he would let me have his credit in my capable hands. I said, that's because he's never been in your situation. I said, but while you're there, ask him if he wants to make an offer on your house. I said, well, I don't think he'd buy it. I said, I know he won't buy it. I said, but you're welcome to ask him. I said, but will he tell you this is what you should do? I said, no, he's a lawyer. He's got to tell you that, no, you don't want to put your credit in somebody else's hands. Well, if you're going to foreclosure, what's the worst that can happen? I can't do what I said I think I can do, and you go to foreclosure? Would you rather be 100% sure that you're going to foreclosure? Would that make you sleep better at night? Yeah, people say, well, you don't really say this to people. I said, absolutely, this is what I say to people.
He does. I've been there.
Right, you be blatantly honest. You're not trying to hurt their feelings, you just want them to understand everything that there is to be involved.
So, few things. One, first of all, what are some requirements for a house? We talked about, you want it to be somewhere that you want to that people are going to want to be a tenant buyer for, or whatever your end strategy is. So you want it to be a desirable house. If it's an ugly house, you have to realize you're going to flip this. You need to have access to cash to fix it up. If it's a pretty house, either you need cash to get it, run it out as soon as possible, or it's in livable condition, it's ready to go. Is there anything else that you should be looking about the mortgage that you're taking over? Anything that you should be paying attention to?
The biggest issue that I have is payment. If the payment is current and it's something that I can live with, it's got to be something that I can make money on. If they've got a $100,000 house and their payment is $1,100 a month, I can't do anything with that. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to make any money. So I'd be glad to tell them what they need to do to solve their own problem, but it's their problem, and I'll let them solve it.
Is there ever a scenario where this option 2 would be good for a buy and hold? Let's say it's only got 5 years left on the mortgage. Could you just put a tenant in there, and just as if you were to, and then you'd end up getting the deed at the end?
You can, but it's rare that you're going to find that situation, because if somebody's debt,
Oh, you're right.
mortgage,
Got it.
they've got enough equity, they
Gotcha. You're right.
can sell it pretty easily.
Sure. You're right.
The most common exit strategies are if it's an ugly house, flip it. If you can also flip pretty houses if they have equity, but a lot of times if they have equity, why go with you?
Yeah.
They've got to have some sort of immediate pain situation.
A lot of times, even if they have equity, they're needing to go. They've already, once in a while, you find somebody that's already bought another house, and they're fighting 2 house payments. They don't have to be in bad shape. They can be current on both houses and still do a subject to.
Yeah.
I have picked up subject twos that had $50,000 and $60,000 in equity. They have a problem. They're not concerned about the equity, believe it or not. All they're concerned about is getting rid of their problem. And like I said, are there options available to them? Sure. They don't want to do it.
Right.
They want to go on about their married life. So you offer them freedom.
We almost bought that one at the end of the year. They were just tired of being landlords, but the house, they tried selling it before. The house was in a location where people didn't want to, it didn't sell before when they listed with an agent, and they're like, we hate being landlords. We just so we almost bought that one subject to. They may come back around, but as far as the mortgage itself, are you concerned with the interest that they have that mortgage at?
I'm not as concerned about the interest as I am the payment.
Okay.
The interest is really inconsequential, because I want to keep I'm only looking to keep the mortgage in place for 2 to 3 years. But the one Courtney was talking about that she and I were trying to do, they owed $47,000
Yeah, 47,000.
It was worth about 85. Now, that's all lease option. Trying to sell it conventionally was gonna be tough.
Yeah.
But selling it on lease option for 85 would be fairly simple. But over the period of a 2-year gig, there's about 60,000 in profit on the house. So you would think that the happy homeowners would be all over collecting them. All they wanted was out. They didn't care how much, like I said, they don't care about the extra. All they care about is causing them pain.
When you drown it, you just
Make it
want a
go
life
away.
jacket.
Right.
When you drown it, you just want a life jacket.
Exactly.
So with it is, so whenever you are analyzing the deal, you're analyzing the location of the house. If you want it, what exit strategy, what things do you need from the seller to be able to further analyze the numbers?
All I need is the mortgage payment,
Like how much they pay each month?
how much they're paying each month, what the balance is on their loan, roughly. And that's what tell me when, oh, well, I'll have to go look it up. And you owe 47 or you owe 87. Well, I owe about 46,000, that's close enough.
Right.
You don't need to quibble over dimes. If you're 5,000 off one way or the other, if that makes a difference in the deal, it's not a deal. You know, my brother told me a long, long time ago, that's a $10,000 range. I said, yeah, so? Well, he was an analytical guy. He wanted to know if it was $9.97 instead of $10.
Yeah. What about, so you're wanting to know how much their monthly payment. Is it important to ask if that mortgage includes insurance? Is it important to know what other payments they pay?
I always ask if there's a second mortgage, if there's any liens or judgments, if this is a loan with escrows. Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever ask for like a flood declaration page?
I'm sorry.
Do you ever ask for like a flood declaration page from your perspective?
I will, yes, ma'am. Mostly I'm concerned about how much their flood insurance is.
Right.
If they tell me it's about $1,200 a year, I'm good with that. If they tell me it's $2,700 a year, I'm not so good with that.
Well, the one that we were doing when we got the declaration page, we found out a fun surprise. They were underinsured.
Right.
And so they just brought it down, I think they didn't know it, but with it is, we were like, hey, this much a year in flood, that sounds good. But then when we actually looked at it, we're like, ooh, that's not gonna, so, there was that factor, but I mean, it was things that it's just good to know what you're looking at. They didn't really care, they didn't really know, they just wanted their payments low. They didn't care if it affected them or not.
Now, that's a personal opinion.
Yeah.
With me, I'm talking about the underinsured or overinsured on the flood. If the flood insurance is already in place and it covers the loan, the lender don't care. And if it covers the loan, I'm all skippy with it. I like the cheap insurance. Typically, flood insurance is way overpriced because Katrina was an unusual event at one of the rooftops. Most of the time, when you have flooding, it's measured in inches, not in feet. But the flood insurance, if you put a 100% policy on it, which is what the insurance agent wants you to do, it covers the roof. It acts like if your house gets an inch of water in it, that it falls off into a void, never to be seen again. Even the lights gone. Now, flood insurance is pathetic insurance if you really get down to it. Because if you get an inch of water, guess how much the insurance is gonna pay for? An inch. If you've got bottom cabinets and top cabinets, they'll pay you the top cabinets was not damaged. We only cover the bottom cabinets. We only cover the bottom 2 feet of the sheetrock in the house. We only cover the inches that were damaged. So I don't care about paying for insurance on crap that happens once every 500 years. It's a little expensive for that.
Unless you're over in Bugaloosa, Covington, Franklinton. That's it. That's getting it every 2 to 3 years now. Oh, I hope no one's in here from
I
Bugaloosa.
bought a flip in Bugaloosa one time, paid $2.
So, forgive me if you've got more to cover on here. I'm just asking some questions on their behalf. If you guys have questions, you guys are doing a good job asking. So say you find out everything, the payments that they pay, you know, they agree to it. What if the owner asks you, well, when will that mortgage get paid off? What do you tell them?
I tell them as soon as I possibly can. I make no guarantees. I get the bulk of my money when my tenant buyer cashes me out. So it's to my advantage to get your mortgage paid off. I tell them up front, I will not transfer their financing to someone else. If I transfer their financing to someone else, I no longer have control. If I don't have control, I can't guarantee what happens. So I never pass someone else's financing off to a third party. That I guarantee the clients. Whenever somebody else becomes the proud owner of the house, they'll also be the proud owner of a brand new mortgage. Because, like I say, I do not transfer someone else's financing. The ways to find subject twos are, a lot of times I will find them through realtors, through mail outs. We can mail out to pre-foreclosure lists. You can talk to bankruptcy or divorce attorneys. I can tell you that a mail out to the list of divorcees is a pretty good list, but you better have a thick skin.
I just got back from a mastermind in Texas this past weekend. I did a lunch and learn with a buddy of mine on Friday, and we did what's called ringless voicemail. We did a ringless voicemail drop to a divorce list. What it is, it's a technology that literally, have you ever had your phone not ring and all of a sudden you have a voicemail? It's a technology. Anyway, he dropped in Dallas, I was over in East Texas, he dropped a ringless voicemail saying, hey, we're driving in the neighborhood, we saw your house. Anyway, let me see if you're interested in selling. We're not saying, hey, you're going through a divorce and I found out about it. You know, like, it wasn't like that. We didn't bring up it specifically. Y'all, my phone, first of all, he dropped it to a few hundred people, actually, I think almost 1,000 people in Dallas area. Y'all, my phone, there was about 15 of us in the lunch and learn, and he just put all our phones, so we were taking live calls. Oh my goodness, they were like, I don't know who to, you know, beep, 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 that you think you are, who told you about my divorce, or whatever, like whatever, because they were just like, either one edge, they either brought it up, they didn't bring it up, they were, I mean, obviously they're not in a good place in life, right? Like probably a low part in their life, and anyway, so you gotta have some thick skin. Lots of unwinding that. I'll just say that was my first ever dealing with divorce lists like that. And first of all, my phone did not stop ringing. I had to block the number. I was like, take off the name list, dude. We're done with the lunch and learn. But I had some mad people. But someone in the group got a deal out of it. But you had to swim through a lot of sharks to get to the little, island that you wanted to get to.
Well, the reason divorce is a good avenue is because most of the time the man and the woman both work and they take both incomes to pay your debts. So when they get a divorce, neither one of them can afford the house. Sometimes you get into a situation where one or the other will say, I don't care if I go down to two, if that other character goes down to two with me. You can't help them. They're going to crash and burn. And you immediately know what the guy divorced anyway. There was no negotiations going on.
Hey, so real quick,
your goal when you pick one of these deals up is to be done with it in 2 years. You're not one of these guys that write this, you've got no intention of writing it out for 10, 20, or however many years. 2 years, and then you're gonna help that individual get their own financing from a conventional source, and then walk away.
Walk away. That is the reason that most people would go subject to, is if you tell them that you will make their loan go away as soon as possible. I tell them right quick, it's gonna take at least 2 years, sometimes it takes more.
Right.
But my crystal ball is a little fuzzy today. So.
Because you can get somebody that right at the end of the 2 years, all of a sudden they can't make it happen, and then you're back to square one again.
And it breaks your heart, because then you have to get a new option consideration. Start all
All
over.
that money just don't fit in the pocket anymore.
Well, one of the ways that we explain it to them and things is like, there's different strategies with the lease option, so this is personal opinion, but I'm like, hey, I'm looking to put someone in the house who can afford to buy a house, but banks just won't touch them right now. So I'm not putting someone in the house who can't afford it, so that they're not gonna meet that 2-year deadline to work with a lender. So I'm looking for someone who, myself, self-employed, banks don't touch me right now until I have another year under my belt being self-employed. You know, someone who just went through a divorce and it hurt their credit. They went through foreclosure years back, bankruptcy years back, and it hurt their credit. You know, different reasons where they can afford to buy, banks won't touch them right now. They just need a little bit more time. Not everyone in the world who wants to own a house, but they can't afford it, right? That's personal opinion, but that's how I pitched it to them. Was like, look, I'm just looking at picking someone who, again, can afford the house and just needs a little time with the bank, and we're going to get them working with the lender. Our goal is as soon as possible with that.
So how do you screen them like that? Basically, screening process, what you're saying. It's a screening process you used to?
Pardon?
Like you said, she's saying the different criteria as far as the
screenings
for them.
The lease option, like who you put in the lease
right,
option.
How you screen them?
Okay, lease option, I am more concerned with the ability to make the payment than I am with their credit. I know they've got bad credit. I used to joke about it because whenever you start dealing with upper end properties, and sometimes you can get up to $10,000 down on a property on a lease option. And I tell you, I don't care if they're an axe murderer and got blood dripping off the axe. They got 10,000, they just qualified to move into my lovely home.
So, where do you find, how do you market, to those folks?
For lease options? Craigslist, NOLA.com.
Facebook Marketplace is a great place.
Gotcha.
Typically, I'm looking for houses in the 150 and down range, because that's your blue collar worker can afford to buy those houses. Now, can you get in the upper end? Sure. Get up in the upper end, though, you realize that if you wind up with a vacancy, you better be able to afford to tote the loan.
So on that topic, the whole concept is this is a way to be able to buy a house sometimes with no money. Like you don't have to pay, they're not behind, so you just take next month's payments, like next month's mortgage payment. So there's a way that you can buy houses, you can buy the house without having to come out with like say 20% down or whatever. But if someone doesn't have any money in the bank as an investor, what is that, can they still do this? What does an investor need to be able to buy a house like this? You're talking about vacancies. What if there's a vacancy? Do they need to be able to afford to pay the payment for the vacancy? Like, what does the investor need to be able to do this deal?
If the rent range is very, very important in that scenario. Because you can't afford, if you have a $700 a month payment to make, and you can't afford to make the payment, $10,900 a month. If it would typically rent for $1,000, $9 is easy to get. So there is if you can't do anything else, you can sell it you can rent it for a break even, just for the payment, and take all your money on the backside. But like I said, whenever you get your option consideration, you don't have to go spend it. You can put it in the bank and use that for a backup if you have a vacancy or any problems. It is a way to get home ownership with no money. Now, with saying that, have I ever gave people money to walk away from a house? Sure. There's enough equity, I don't know, I'll give them $5,000 to walk. Typically, you get them to walk for $1,000 or for nothing. But if it, like I say, if it's a smoking deal, I'll give them $5,000 to walk. It's cheap money and there's a ton of equity when I do that. Just,
I have one question in regards to stay away from that property. Are there any scenarios where they've already begun the foreclosure process, but they haven't foreclosed, where you're still interested in that deal, or is that kind of the point of no return, where it's like, there's probably not going to be a deal here?
if the foreclosure is next week, it's gonna be tough. Depends on how long the fuse is and how far behind they are. If they're 5,000 back on the loan and they're still 6-7 weeks away from foreclosure, I've got time to get a lease out. Now, I will tell them I may or may not be able to make it happen. I won't catch the payments up until I get it sold. I get a $5,000 down on it, they're 5,000 behind, or if it's got enough equity in it and they're 7,000 behind, I'll come out of pocket for the other two if I'm getting it back pretty quickly. But like I said, that one's got to have some equity in it for me to come out of pocket. Once in a while, people ask you how much of the rent goes toward the purchase. If average rent is $1,000 a month, and I rent it for $1,000, guess how much is going toward the purchase? Nothing. And they're usually good with that. The $5,000 they put down goes toward the purchase. But if they want something to go toward the purchase, I'm telling them, let's make the rent $1,200 a month, and I'll put $300 a month towards the purchase. But you've got a 24-month deal, period. You cash me out 24 months, or you're going down the highway. But I will give up 100, and they increase. I'll give up 100 for 200 every day of the week.
You're going to get it
200 now.
right?
Well, it's their money that I'm giving up anyway. So, but like I say, I'll give up 100 to get an extra 200 non-refundable every day of the week. But like I say, it gives them the opportunity, and they'll say, well, let's see, $1,300 and $300 a month goes towards the purchase. That's not really that good. I said, go talk to a mortgage lender and ask them how much of your payment is going towards the purchase of your house for the first 2 years. Let me know how that works out for you. Because typically it's going to be $20 or $25 a month that's going to go toward the purchase. The rest of it's going to go to interest. Yes, sir.
So if you catch another deal and say, everything looks good, and they're five, you catch a deal, everything looks good, but they're 5,000 behind. Everything looks good, you're gonna move forward with this. You're not gonna touch that $5,000 behind. In other words, the bank's gonna sit for 2 years with $5,000 behind payments.
No, I didn't say that. No, I said I'm not going to catch it up until I sell it on the lease option.
Okay, all right, I got you.
When I get the option consideration, I take it and catch the payment up.
I got you.
Now, the bank is not gonna be.
That's what that's what
They don't have any sense of humor when it comes to that.
Right, then I wait for 2 years for that.
Well, so have you ever bought one and then you just couldn't actually get it leased off, and you just say, well, I'm sorry, I just couldn't, I couldn't do it?
I'm not.
That's why it's important when you buy it right.
Pardon?
That's why it's important when you buy it, you buy something that the market wants.
You always, in every situation, you make your money when you buy it. You cash your check when you sell it. If you don't make your money when you buy, you're not gonna make any money. If you buy wrong, you're screwed, period. There's no way to overcome a bad buy. You know, not unless there's a national crisis or something and everything doubles in price. But typically, if you don't buy right, you're not gonna make any money. And that is not what I'm in this business for, is to not make money.
So where do you find your buyers that quickly?
Buyers, I just advertise on Craigslist or in NOLA.com or TimePGM, whatever.
You say lease option.
Lease option,
Yeah.
basically the option to buy.
And Facebook Marketplace is huge. You put it on there, you're gonna have to, it's not a matter of you'll find people, it's just weeding out who you want. They're gonna come, it's just a matter of, I've also seen people put signs.
It sounds like it if you've never done it, but it is not hard to find these option tenants because back whenever everything was all skippy, about 40% of the public could qualify for a loan. The other 60% is looking for a creative way to become a homeowner. And this is a way that they can get home ownership with a path to actual ownership in a couple of years. Otherwise, they're never gonna own a home. They're gonna be tenants.
Do you put a down payment and the mortgage payment subject to it in the ad?
Pardon me?
The down payment and the mortgage payment in the ad, do you put how much down and how much a month in the ad?
Yes, I do. It pre-qualifies your tenants before they come to you. Because if somebody can only afford $1,000 a month and I need to get 12, I don't need to talk to them. And if somebody doesn't have, well, I'm gonna try to save up a down payment, call me when you get it. You have to develop somewhat of a thick skin. I can tell you whenever somebody tells me Aunt Polly died again, I have no concern over Aunt Polly. I want to know where's my rent, because the mortgage company is gonna want my money.
So when you get them working with a lender, are there any type of lenders that you work with? Are you looking with ones who can work with credit, ones who do refinancing? Like what type of lender on your team do you need to work with?
It depends on what year you're talking to me, but I typically have a lender that I work with that's just a mortgage lender. My criteria is the lender gets off his butt and does his job. As long as he does his job, we all skippy and happy. I don't expect him to do anything illegal or unethical or whatever. But I will send my tenant buyer to talk to my lender, and he will tell them what they need to do to clean up their credit where they can afford, where they can get a loan to buy the house. And typically that's gonna take them 1 or 2 years to get it done. As long as they're working with my lender and trying their best to get everything situated, if they have an issue in their life, which happens every once in a while, somebody will wind up getting fired or changing jobs or whatever, and it puts them down the road a little further. As long as they've been a good tenant, pay me on time, and I don't have to chase them, I'll extend the lease option another year or 2, whatever, it don't matter.
Right.
As long as you did not tell your seller that you're going to get him cashed out in 1 or 2 years, you're okay. Like I said, I tell them, my crystal ball, and that's just what I tell them. My crystal ball is a little fuzzy today. So I will do my best to get it cashed out within 2 years. Can I guarantee that? No. Yes, ma'am.
Are you doing anything to pre-qualify the people who are coming to be your
Tenant buyer.
tenant buyers? Are you running their credit or having the credit pulled so you can kind of gauge where they are? If they're a 400 and add 18 million student debts and might not ever get out of it, are you taking any precautions to
I do not.
okay.
I want to know where they're working. I want to know how much they make. I am looking for the ability to pay. I know they've got credit issues. there's no point in me pulling their credit because I know they can't qualify to buy a house if they go buy one. You can buy cheaper than you can rent. So you can definitely buy cheaper than you can lease option. So I know they can't qualify today or they would have went ahead and bought one.
Yeah, so when you're doing those numbers, finding out where they were, I guess you're trying to see if they got any history, and then you're figuring out how much they make. Are you trying to figure out what all their bills are as well?
I do not. Typically I ask people. I will ask them, how much do you make? Where you working? How long have you been there? I find people are generally pretty honest.
And
They know it's pretty easy for me to go check on it.
Right, and the lease mortgage is $1,000 a month, so they say, when you establish that it's $1,000 a month, that's what they gotta come up with. And they put it on paper, and then for, 6 months they can't come up with it, then they're.
You evict them?
They're also giving me option consideration.
Right, correct.
If they can't make the payment after the second month, do I give them any of their option money back? No. It just costs them $5,000 to live there for 2 months.
So,
That's not a good business model for anybody.
all right, if we can just do a few more questions, it's almost 8:30 now.
Okay.
We want to just get any more questions that you guys are itching to ask? Anyone? Yes.
I have a question. When you talked about getting the title, the seller transfers title to you, do you like go to closing, like the title company, like they do? Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So you mentioned when you were buying from the seller, they transfer title to you. Do you go to the title company and they do, how do you?
You have to talk to a few title attorneys, based on that, like some of them won't. Delta Title, away from town, up to the gate. Della, they set box.
It's true. We couldn't do one there.
But I do close with the title company. Generally, the first time you close with the title company, you've got to claim to those accounts and those subject to. Because they want to do a quick claim deed, and a quick claim deed will not work if it's serious legal. So, what I would say, you have to explain to them that you're putting subject to an existing finance, an existing mortgage. Most of the time, I would say, list along
My
the
deal
way.
goes on Thursday, I'm
The
doing
valid charge, whatever, and that.
but I want to go claim it to our LLC, so that way I can get our insurance and everything like that. If that's not gonna trigger a lien in those cases, and it's still
Once in a
me.
while, somebody will ask me, do I take title insurance out on a subject to?
I don't think so.
That would be no.
Because I haven't
You'd
done
already
that,
have
so I
title
don't know what's
insurance.
supposed to say.
There's the existing mortgage. The title insurance survives the closing. So the title insurance, the individual may have taken an owner's policy, but I assure you they took a lender's policy. So there's a title policy on the property. All I have to worry about is if they deposit any crap on my house. So the quicker that you can get title transferred into your name, the less likely of anything landing on title. But I will do a quick title search and make sure that there's no liens or judgments attached to my house. Because I have to provide clear title when I sell it to my new tenant buyer. Anybody else got a question?
Who do you use to do the title search?
Pardon?
Who do you use to do the title search? Do you get
Pay
agents to do
yourself.
it?
I just have them do a quick title search. I tell them that I'm not taking a title policy on the subject to deal, but I do want them to look at it. And I tell them all they gotta do is look at it between the time that my seller purchased it
So that
and then
time
sell it to me.
their ownership.
Just that short window of time. Because they've already got a title policy on everything behind it.
Right.
So, like I say, I'm just doing a title deed. Yes, ma'am.
So how did you get into doing subject twos?
Actually, I was sitting on my unemployed butt one night when I was doing construction work, And Carlton Sheets came on, and that's the one that got me started in real estate. Old Carlton will teach you everything that you need to go learn about real estate. He won't teach you what you need to know. But yeah, once I got into real estate, I did a couple of ugly houses. Then I found out about pretty houses. Actually, Ron LeGrand was the first guru that introduced me to subject twos. And I picked that little strategy up because not requiring any money fit my budget at that time.
He recommended Ron LeGrand to me. He said, go get the cassettes off of eBay. I said, I'll just go watch the videos on YouTube. But the subject still sat, and I found Ron on YouTube.
Well, Dave Delgado back in the day too, huh? Dave Delgado.
Dave Delgado.
There you go. But there's another strategy for no money is owner financing, and that's ugly houses. I have bought several of them with my offer is nothing down and no payment, no interest for 12 months. And they'll ask, why would I do that? I said, well, have you been by the house lately? Well, yeah. I said, you see all the footprints around the house? I said, no. I said, nobody else is looking. That's ugly house. I mean, ugly house. My wife has told me a couple of times, oh my God, surely you don't want that one. I said, sure, that's my money. But,
all right, you guys.
Any other questions?
Any more? Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I believe we're pretty much covered.
Guys, let's go ahead and thank Mr. Robert Reed. So real quick, you guys, before we finish these, so just a reminder.
Thank you.
So just a reminder, guys, next meeting is Tuesday, February 12th. We're going to talk about how to use property managers to your advantage. If you do not if you're on Facebook and you do not already like us on Facebook, go like us on there. We're going to be announcing a real estate investor meetup in Hammond in February, as well as a Slidell beginners, intro to real estate investing. If tonight was like over your head, you want to find out about these real estate investing introduction courses, okay? If you're not on there, get on there, because the live video that we have from tonight, it's on there. Last month's is on there. Real quick, Christina in the back, she's got the wave your hand, Christina. She's one of our sponsors. She's a lender. If you guys are thinking about doing subject to where you do a lease option, and you want her to like pre-screen your applicants, she could be a good tool. It's okay if you have someone on your team to do that, to pre-screen who you have for lease options and say, hey, this person is a good fit or not. But thank you guys very much.
That's something else you can put on the website. It is a rendition of a lease option. There's several of them.
So real quick,
That's
I'm
the
gonna.
one that I use.
Thank you. So on our website, you've got little blue business cards over here that have the website on it. On the upcoming meetings page, I'll have this put up later. There's already a packet. Thank you guys for coming. I'm gonna get this book. I know you were looking at it earlier. So I wanted to think of a question to ask. Thank you guys so much.
So she said these are parts?
Hey guys, this is what you're missing out on here. If you're not here tonight, y'all, you're missing out on the opportunity to meet some people. Have a good night. See you next time.